outbreak of the spirit of romance they inherited from that famous American ancestor. Within the week, smart society in England and France, and of course in the States, has had 3 marriage announcements from notable members of the most interesting and impressionable family. The most spectacular...
Meaning the singers?
Right.
They're the most interesting and impressionable.
Family, apparently, yes. The most spectacular singer at this moment is, of course, the genial and enormously wealthy Paris singer who gave his English castle at Paynton over to British and American wounded soldiers, and whose contributions to French and American war funds have run into huge sums. Mr. Singer was married several years ago to a beautiful Australian lady who has become one of the great hostesses of the Riviera. She divorced him last winter, and for several months he was constantly in the company of a very beautiful Englishwoman who society now says is really his second wife. This report has made quite a bit of excitement wherever the name of Singer is known, for frankly everyone in the know fully expected that Isadora Duncan would become the second Mrs. Singer. So they switched over and they were talking about one of the other siblings.
This is a long article.
It was a huge article, yeah. And I decided not to read the whole thing to you guys.
Oh, God.
As Paris Singer is the head of the family, although even he has never been able to straighten out his father's wives and 24 offspring, let us hear what society has to say of him. During the early years of his first marriage, he lavished a fortune on his handsome wife, providing her with a pink marble villa on the shore of the Adriatic and a white marble castle in the south of England.
I'll take it.
Yeah. Her jewels equaled those of an Egyptian queen. Society said that with all these gifts were to make his wife forget how deeply in love he had been with Isadora Duncan. Well, there's no denying the fact that he had long worshipped at the dancer's shrine and that he had begged and pleaded with her to marry him. He backed her in several of her dancing enterprises solely because of his interest in art, because all the time he wanted her for his wife. All of her world knows Mrs. Duncan's theories as to love and marriage, and even Mr. Singer came to realize finally that she would not then become Mrs. Singer. He married the Australian lady, but kept a friendly interest in Miss Duncan's aesthetic projects, which is not true, as he was already married, as we've already discussed. So they're not always very correct, these articles.
Right.
In 1914, when war broke out and his wife turned her Riviera villa into a hospital for French wounded and the marble castle at Paynton was turned over to the Red Cross, Mr. Singer's wealth was at the disposal of all war charities. When America went into the fight, he returned to his native land and poured his wealth out on his fellow countrymen. The biggest thing he planned for the American wounded was the marvelous country club near Palm Beach for the benefit of shell-shocked patients. When the armistice was signed, this project had cost Mr. Singer $750,000. His wife left in France, secured a divorce, and Isadora Duncan once again appeared as a possible successor. But Mr. Singer suddenly betook himself to Palm Beach, where he spent most of his time overlooking his club colony. It was noticed that a handsome Englishwoman was his constant companion. Society said then and says today that this lady is Mrs. Paris Singer. Neither the lady nor Mr. Singer denies it. What a romance this is. It combines mystery with love and beauty and great luxury. The impression is that Singer is merely having fun with his friends. Society reasons in this way. A well-known dowager who has buried 3 husbands and married off 6 daughters says,
my gosh.
Quote, Paris Singer at heart is a great romantist. He knows that pitiless publicity robs marriage of all charm, and so he marries his lady on the quiet, hies himself to beautiful Florida for a secret honeymoon among the palms and roses, and cares not a whoop for what we say or think. Which apparently was true, because... but it doesn't necessarily on the quiet, because we do know that Paris married a woman named Joan Bates in Palm Beach in 1919, and she was called the Bride of the Season by one society columnist, so they clearly knew what was going on in Palm Beach, and maybe it was just a little too far out for people to really be taking notice.
Did he not have children with her?
I'm not sure. I couldn't. This was kind of a hard one. Who is this woman? She went by Joan Bates in some places, but then in the social register, she was listed as Annie Charlotte Bates. So that kind of makes me wonder what kind of past she might have led to prior to Paris.
To not have a name, right.
Yeah. I mean, we clearly have established that he did not discriminate, so... I did find a mention of her in Paris's obituary and said that she was a nurse or a nursing student.
Yes.
And that she was originally slated to be like the head.
Joan Balch?
Yeah, I've saw her listed as that as well. So it's very... It's very confusing.
That is confusing. So I presume so it was later in life, though. So he had 5 children with the wife and 1 with Isadora, 2 of whom died. And I don't think there were any more.
Yeah, because
he died a year before Mizner.
They got married in 1919, so he was in his 60s. He was born in 1865 or 1867, so he was 58. Does that add up? Yes,
I'm not
I think
sure.
so. Yes, he was 58. So yeah, it's very much a mystery.
He was born in 1867, died in 1932.
He was in his
64.
Yeah, he was in his
When did
mid-60s.
they get married? In the 1920s?
1919.
Oh, no, then that does not compute.
Right. So no, he was 48.
Yeah.
48. Okay. So yeah, still kind of it's young.
Not old.
Yeah. Anywho, he died in London on June 24th, 1932. Unfortunately, his fortune had been depleted by his many real estate adventures in Florida.
Oh.
In fact, he was arrested on charges of real estate fraud in 1928. The charges were eventually dismissed, but he was so embarrassed that he left Florida and never returned. He also lost a lot of money in the stock market crash of 1929, as many of the millionaires did at that time. And then he was forced to live quietly with his wife, Joan, at his house in France.
That's okay.
Yeah.
It wouldn't take much forcing for me to live quietly in a house in France.
Right. I think it was on the Riviera.
Yes.
That would have been so hard. If you're wondering about Isadora, since we brought her up, she had a very tragic end.
Yeah, I didn't want to talk about that.
So, and slightly ironic given how the 2 children died. But she was riding in a motor car.
Just stay away from cars, people.
Right.
Walk or bike.
So she was riding in an automobile. She was wearing a long flowing silk scarf. And the wind picked it up to the point that it blew down, got entangled on the wheels of the vehicle, choked her, and then broke her neck. So not a good way to go.
It's really sad.
Some reports said that she was pulled from the vehicle and that she died from the force of the fall. Other sources noted that she was almost decapitated by the sudden tightening of the scarf around her neck. But I think it probably broke her neck. That she was cremated and her ashes are now at the Père Lachaise Cemetery in Paris.
Oh.
And there was a book published 2 years ago in 2017 it's by Amelia Gray, and it's called Isadora, and it actually is told from her point of view, Paris's point of view, Isadora's sister's point of view, and her brother-in-law's point of view. So
she's covered.
Yeah, she's pretty clever, but it actually, I was just reading in a review of it that there is a portion of the book where she apparently eats the ashes of her children.
No.
So I would like to know if that is true, or if the author just made it up, because that's kind of creepy and weird.
Is.
Anywho, so we're going to wrap this up tonight. Not a lot of chit-chat tonight.
I was hoping to talk more about Addison Mizner and Boca Raton specifically.
Boca Raton? Okay.
But maybe Singer Island too. But I won't. But, I do need to give credit where it's due. Obviously, I make my own script, but my source material was a book called Mizner's Florida, American Resort Architecture by Donald Curl. And it's an older book that I picked up at, I believe it's called Mermaid Books in Williamsburg, Virginia. You never know where you're going to find stuff. This book, let's see the copyright on here, the first printing was 1984. So it's old, it's fabulous, and it definitely chronicles his whole life, kind of focusing on Florida, but specifically used the chapter of the first 3 chapters, training, the New York years, and the Everglades Club.
Okay.
So thank you to Mr. Curl, who may or may not be with us, for writing an excellent book.
Awesome sauce. And if our sound sounds off a little bit tonight, please forgive us. We're having to record in a different place, and our
Not my house.
Not Adrienne's house, and it's off of a kind of a busy street, so I will do my best to fix things, but sometimes I just can't do it. Until next time, please check us out on Facebook and Instagram. We are at Scandal Sheets Pod. Leave us comments. Love reading them, and we'll generally respond to you. We are especially grateful for the new followers that we've just gotten. And one of these days, I'm going to actually start calling people out.
We should already.
I know we should.
Do you have names? Oh, next time. We can do it next time.
Yeah,
that's all right.
We can do it next time.
Oh, all right. Update. Professor Carl, who wrote this beautiful book, did pass away. 75 years old. He died in 2010.
Oh, wow.
But great book.
Very cool.
So there's your trilogy.
Yep, on the Singer family.
Yep. So sorry to end on a bit of a downer.
Yeah,
but,
I know.
If you do like Florida architecture and are interested in learning more about Addison Mizner, do pick up American Resort Architecture. Mizner's Florida, American Resort Architecture. There are many more books about Mizner because he was kind of a big deal.
It was also a very cool book that I have that is on Florida's resort hotels. Well, it's specifically about the resort hotels of Henry Flagler and Henry Plant.
Oh, sure.
The Architecture of Leisure is what it's called.
I would love that. Henry Plant did the hotel in Tampa.
Yeah.
It's on the campus now of University of Tampa.
Just remind me, I'll let you borrow it.
It's a quarter of a mile long. Legitimately.
I also have a giant one called Great Hotels of Florida. I know. I need to get it together.
Thanks for telling me.
I'm sorry.
All right, I'm going to go home right now. Or come home with you right now and get those books.
Well, I also neglected to say this when we did our episode on Henry Flagler about... I actually have 1920s or 30s postcards of the Ponts.
Nice.
And they're framed on my wall. So I guess that's probably the only reason that I didn't say anything is because I walk by them every day and forget that they're there.
As we do.
Yes. Anywho, so we're going to wrap it up.
Okay. I'm ready to say goodnight.
We need to say our PSA, though. We decided earlier today.
Oh, right. So everyone loves The Price is Right, like I did when I was a kid.
I know.
It's
Favorite
still
show.
on. I do love What's His Face, but
Drew
Bob
Carey.
Barker is the best.
Yep.
And he used to close with his little PSA that said, be a responsible pet owner, have your pet spayed or neutered.
Yep.
And we would like to echo that sentiment for many reasons, but
mostly because we are both involved in cat rescue.
Please be a responsible pet owner and have your cat or dog spayed or neutered.
Because it's very important, people. You can't even, unless you're involved in rescue, you can't even begin to understand.
You don't want to know.
You don't. It's just so overwhelming. The number of animals that get sent to shelters and are put down needlessly because of overpopulation.
Yeah.
We don't
need any more.
No, and we cannot adopt ourselves out of this. It has to stop somewhere. So if you have an animal or pet that's running around unspayed or neutered, please go do it.
Yeah.
Usually check
there's totally low cost or free
there's usually
places.
resources.
There's always a rescue.
Yeah, exactly. So there's generally low cost or free resources through your county or through rescues. So
keep your animals healthy.
Yep. Absolutely. Not only does it prevent overpopulation, you also can it keeps them from getting cancer of their various reproductive organs. So that's very important.
Yep.
Do it, people.
Yep.
Don't make us come after you.
That's true. Don't, really.
And on that note...
You don't want to see us at your door.
No, you don't. Angry cat ladies unite.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So, ta-ta for now.
Good night.
Carry on, my wayward son.
Carry on, my wayward son.